Okay, so before we get started with the math, we're just going to fill in a few definitions. So, mass is commonly measured by how much something weighs. Our next one is what we have been looking at. So, volume is the amount of three-dimensional space an object occupies, and that's also referred to as capacity, so how much something can hold. And our last definition is density. Density is how much mass per unit of volume. This little triangle over here to the right, if you write MdV exactly in that order, it will help you figure out your formulas that you need to know. So right here, density, if I cover up the density, we have mass divided by volume. So it's mass over volume. Our next one is volume. So if we cover up RV, we have M divided by D. So volume is equal to the mass divided by the density. And our last is M. So mass, if we cover that up, is equal to density times volume. So density times volume. And it's very important that we're careful with our units. So when we're labeling density, volume, and mass, we have to put the correct units. And sometimes they even give you different conversions, which we're going to look at in exercise 4. Exercise 1. A loaf of bread has a volume of 2,200 centimeters cubed and a mass of 454 grams. We're trying to figure out the density of that bread. So how much mass per unit of volume it is. If you go back and look, your density is equal to mass divided by volume. So now we're just going to substitute in what we know. Density is equal to the mass, they said was 454. And that's grams, over the volume is 2,270 centimeters cubed. And when you type in your calculator 454 divided by 2,270, your density becomes 0.2. And the units that we're looking at would be grams per centimeters cubed. And this right here is your final answer. Exercise 2. I threw a plastic ball in the pool for my dog to fetch. The mass of a ball was 125 grams. What must be the volume, so we're trying to find the volume, to have a density of 1/2 of gram per millimeter? So, we're trying to find volume, so we know that volume is equal to mass over the density. So, if we're going back to our word problem, we see that mass is 125, so we're going to substitute that in for M, over the density, which was 0.5. In your calculator, you would just type 125 divided by 0.5, and you get the volume is equal to 250. Let's look at what our units would be. We know density is mass over volume. So this milliliter right here represents the volume. So we have milliliters, but you should remember that volume is to the third power. So volume is equal to 250 milliliters cubed. And that would be your final answer for exercise 2. Exercise 3. Given the diagram to the right, what is the mass of the cube? So here they actually labeled it nicely for you. Your density is 3 grams per centimeter cubed, and your volume is 27 centimeters cubed. So we know that mass is equal to density times volume. Our density in this problem was 3, so we substitute 3 in for B. And our volume was 27, so we substitute 27 in for our volume. And when you type that into your calculator, you type in 3 multiplied by 27, and you get 81. And remember, mass is related to how much something weighs, and you know that density is mass over volume, so our units for mass would be grams. So, of that cube right there, it weighs 81 grams. Exercise 4, I'm just going to give you a few little hints, and then I want you to try this one on your own. So, a square metal plate has a density of 10.2, and it weighs 2.193. And our first step is to calculate the volume of the plate. So, we know that volume is equal to mass over the density. We are given both of these. Remember, weighs, that is referring to your mass. However, you should notice something over here. You should see that this is in grams and that's in kilograms. So, before you start the problem, you're actually going to convert your kilograms into grams. So let's look down here. You should know that there are 1,000 grams in a kilogram. So if you want to go from kilograms to grams so that this matches here, you need to move this decimal place 3 spots to the right. So your mass is really 2,193 grams. So now this gram and that gram matches with the units, so now you could just substitute in your mass and your density and solve for that problem. So you're going to get a volume when you substitute this number in and that number in. Once you have the volume, you are going to figure out the thickness. And the thickness is just another word for the height of that plate. So, remember that volume is equal to big B times H. The base of his plate has an area, which is big B, of 25 centimeters squared. You have the volume from this problem up here, and remember you're trying to isolate for that volume there, that height there, I mean. So we'll go over that problem tomorrow in class once you get in. Thank you. See you guys tomorrow.